Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone here to the March 30th Planning Commission. At this time, I'm going to call this meeting to order. And if Mr. Slay would give us the invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we stop at this moment to give you the praise and the glory for all of the ways that you bless us and provide for us and how you take care of us here in our county. Thank you, Lord, for these men and for their willingness to serve. I pray, Father, for them to have the wisdom that they need today to make good decisions. Father, we think about how you allow us to participate in our government. We think about being here today as citizens in this community, Lord, wanting our government and wanting this community to be all that it can be. And so, Father, it's a privilege that we get to participate in this. I pray that you would help us today to recognize what a blessing it is to have a voice and to have a vote. Father, I pray that we would never take that for granted and help us to do everything that we can to fully participate and encourage those around us to do so. Father, our men and women that serve us and protect us every day, they're out there in the community. Father, they are risking themselves, their own personal safety. Father, they are giving of their time and their effort and their energy to keep us safe. Bless them, bring them home safely in Christ's name.
Thank you, Mr. Slay. First order of business, considerations and approval of March 2nd.
So moved.
Minutes. Motion made, Mr. Morrison. Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Old business.
All right, so there are two items of old business. Do y'all want to review either of those?
I would, on the first one, did we ever did he give us hours of operation or how many days a week, or was anything discussed on that?
There was some discussion during the planning meeting. I can tell you what his original hours were.
All right.
When he first completed the application, he said he really hadn't decided for sure, but he was saying either 8 to 6 or 10 to 6.
How many days a week?
I have to check on that, but I'm thinking 6, not Sunday.
And did he say it was seasonal, or did he say because I've heard a couple people say it was gonna be just seasonal when garden's ready, then I've heard that it's gonna be open year round. So, I guess we can find all that out on April 3rd.
Well, the thing on Facebook saying it's fruit stand.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they don't plan to be open year round, because he's gonna have other things, so.
All right, well, I guess we'll find out more. What do we need to do? Set that?
It's just a
Okay,
review, if you wanna review
All
any
right.
of it. If you don't, then that one's already set.
All right, that's all I had on that one.
Okay. All right, so you ready to move to new business? New consideration?
Does anybody have any review or anything on the Verizon
Right.
Wireless?
That's,
No.
that's in Jay's district.
No, that's
Oh,
it.
I'm
No,
sorry,
it's my
that's in your
district.
district, okay.
I don't know I know what's going on, but I don't know what you want to know about it now. Not positive.
All right, let's move on to new considerations.
All right, so the first item under new considerations is a rezoning request for Michael Brooks on Stump Ridge Road. He's seeking to rezone 147.79 acres from A1 to RE1. This property is directly behind Freedom Ridge Part 1. A1 doesn't allow for development of subdivisions, and approximately 85 acres will be developed for Freedom Ridge Part 5. That's an aerial view of the property. This is the preliminary plat. It shows 23 lots with an average lot size of 3.50 acres. The plat also shows a 100-foot buffer around the perimeter of the property, shown in green. Homes will be a minimum of 2,800 square feet, and the remaining acreage, 62.4, at the back of the property will be reserved by the developer as a house site with intentions of dividing the property between members of his immediate family. These are views of that property. And then these are the homes that are in Freedom Ridge Part 1.
Ms. Renee, can you go back to the plat? Steve, did you see the buffer that was reflected on that?
I did.
Okay.
We looked at this and he agreed and liked the idea to put 100-foot, we were less than that, recommended, 100-foot buffer of vegetation, trees, whatever.
Just whatever grows.
And then it's already there, some of
Okay.
it. But, that was an issue. Some of the people in the area felt like it may have an effect on their water pressure. Had a study done from the Water Association. And I got the impression that the water may not be as, have the pressure that they would like right now. But when the Water Association did their study, it was at the top of the chart. They regulate between 25 pounds and 80 pounds, as long as it's in that, and they were like 78. And I was told, you know, if there's houses in there, they might ought to check with their builders, because the pressure is at the meter. And it's more, we can't go up anymore. And it will not affect, the Water Association is prepared for growth. So that part, they issued a letter in support.
Good, good.
Well,
Is there a possibility, Steve, that Michael would be willing to at least give us some idea about that, what I will call that future development piece, that back piece of that?
For,
where the cul-de-sac
for his
is?
family, the family area.
Would he be open to at least demonstrating some
I can tell you what,
informal?
yeah, he has told me that he wants to keep that for him and his wife to have, I don't know, I think it was 50 or 60 acres. And a lot of that back there is wet now.
Yes, sir.
And they want, to build their home and a small farm back there. That's his plans for that cul-de-sac. The lots have, an average minimum size of a little over 3 acres. He chose to up the square footage to 2,800 square foot, which is larger than anything out there.
Yes, sir.
I mean, any of, not the largest house, but any of the standards.
Yes, sir.
I can't find a hole in it. I mean, it's gonna grow.
Right.
We just want to make sure it grows right, and he's demonstrating that.
So are you saying these right here are at least 3 acre lots?
Yeah.
That's nice.
So 3.5 plus.
Yeah.
The back parcel, I'll call it, that phase 2 piece, we need to, you know, have some clarity. I think it needs to be reflected as future development so that there's complete flexibility.
Okay.
Right, for a later board to decide how that's gonna be developed. I'm not asking him to actually plat something.
Okay.
But it is helpful for us to kind of know what the arrangement is, what the plan is
Yes, sir.
on the front end, because there are gonna be people who buy in there that won't have any idea what's gonna be behind them.
Yeah. Okay.
If we don't discuss
Well, let's just
that.
communicate that to
Well,
him.
if there's gonna be other, if he's actually gonna develop it, he would probably have to come up with another entrance too, huh?
I don't think, but his plan is for himself.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I think that's correct, I think that's gonna be flooded.
And he knows
There is a lot.
Vast majority.
what he's got to do if he tries to put too many heats.
Yeah, most, I mean, a lot of it's gonna be flooded away, which is,
Oh,
so to
yeah,
speak.
absolutely.
That's the main drainage basin coming from.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or on this? Item 1, Michael Brooks.
It's nice out there, man.
You good on that?
I'm good.
All right, let's move forward.
All right, the next item is a conditional use permit for Garrett and Emily Teal at 235 West Main Street. They're seeking the conditional use permit to construct a metal building home on this property. It's a 4.50 acre parcel. It's zoned RE1, which doesn't allow for the metal exterior. That's an aerial view of the property. This is just their survey showing the access easement to the road, West Main. This is her site plan. And then these are, this is the style of the home that they would like to build. And then this is the colors, dark gray with a light gray stone at the bottom. She's saying that the home will contain anywhere between 2,400 to 3,000 square feet. I'm not sure if they're here today, if you have questions, but
I thought you just said it didn't allow for
it
metal.
doesn't, so they're going through the conditional use process to see if it can be approved at that location.
Is that out there on the left? Are they here? No,
What's the surrounding?
I
I'm
think I
sorry.
know where it is.
So
Yeah,
this
I
is
know
a
where it
view
is.
of the
No,
property,
It won't be a problem.
and these are surroundings.
No, that's the old Watley house, yeah. They're gonna be off the road back there some, too much.
They are back off the
As I
road.
know, yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, I knew we put a culvert in there. I didn't know what it was, the building, yeah. It's gonna be off the road. Yeah, I don't see a problem in the location where it is.
That ditch looks clean.
Hmm?
That ditch looks clean.
Good job on that.
Alright,
Alright, so next is a conditional use permit for Chris Edwards, AWB Holdings LLC on Henry Sample Road. Mr. Edwards is seeking the conditional use permit to develop a rural subdivision. It's a 57.8 acre parcel. That's an aerial view. The property's zoned A2. And this is his preliminary plat. It shows 5 lots with a minimum of 10 acres each. All lots meet the 150-foot minimum lot width that's required for rural subdivisions. The restrictive covenants that were included in the application set the minimum heated and cooled area for homes is 2,200 square feet. This is the view of the property from Henry Sample.
Renee, what was the smallest lot in there?
Well, they all have to be at least 10 acres.
10 acre, yeah. This is under that
Rural.
ranch, rural,
That's right.
yeah,
Rural
farm on
subdivision.
rural, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
So they don't have to change
I
the zoning.
thought
We can
that's what
just
we're
do
doing.
it as a conditional
Yeah.
use permit.
I've looked at it and,
That's,
is that a public road?
yes,
it is public.
yeah.
Can you go back to the plat one more time, Mr. Rebecca? I want to just, I want to ask a question here. Guys, I'm probably, what's going on right here, Ms. Renee? Is this an access to get to this?
I think that's lot 5 part of it. I've got one. Well, you can see it better on the piece of paper.
Is it deeded to that, it's in that deed, isn't it, Renee?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that part of that deed, their drive is deeded with the land?
I'm not sure about that. They have access there
Yeah.
that comes across that
Yeah.
property.
For some reason, I was thinking that, I may be wrong, it may be an easement, but I thought it was a deed.
Yeah. It's shown on the plat as a 60-foot utility access easement.
That's what I was saying.
Look there, he
Yeah.
was right.
Use close.
Yeah, did you?
That's a utility access easement, but that ain't.
That's a power line or something.
You know?
Looks like it.
That's not there.
Okay.
Running the side of the road and making a 90 right there.
What is this? There's some big tract of land. Oh, he's wanting to break it up, sell it.
No, it's 50.
That has access back to 25.
All the
One of those has access to 25.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify,
I understand, Craig,
this lot right here and this are all inclusive of that lot.
okay.
Is this a separate lot, or is it a part of this lot? That's what we need to know.
There's just 5 lots, it's part of that lot, I think they're labeled.
I'm trying to figure out if that is part of lot 5. Is this part of lot?
If it's not but 5 lots, there's 5 up there.
And if it's a part of lot 5, I don't know why we need that 60-foot easement.
Craig,
That is I think
Craig,
now,
you can see it over here.
it's been 2 months since I looked, but I think they go to the highway.
If you count
With
the
the-
one on the right, you got 2 in
It's
the
all
middle,
part of this.
Yes.
Yes,
two
so
to the left of that
notice
black
that
fire
there
line.
is
Look at the
not
What's that up at the
an
top?
easement shown on here.
Those top 3,
But
those
there
lots,
is an easement shown on here.
they're kind of blocked off, but yeah, it looks like 1, 2, 3. That pie shape one, I guess that's one.
Notice that on here, there is no easement. Yeah, but there is a 60-foot easement right there.
You got
I- So what we've got is a discrepancy between the original plat that was provided and the plat that we are now looking at here on the screen. Those are not the same. There's a 60-foot easement that has been included
that utility easement.
right here. It's an access, utility, and whatever easement that is included here. And while this is originally platted as a part of this lot, my opinion is that this is setting up for this lot to be segregated from this lot at some point and sold to someone else and provided access back to the public road, which is not in compliance with our rural subdivision
Craig,
ordinance.
I'm sorry. I thought they were doing it to access the rest of this and to change this so it wouldn't, I thought it was to go with the existing road that continues on.
Okay, well, we just need to
Clarify
clarify that
that.
and make sure that it's clear that lot 5 is not going to be subdivided. Well, it shouldn't be
can't
because
under
it's
the-
being plat, but later on, when nobody is here and
Yeah.
knows what's going on with this,
Right.
we need to make sure it's clear in the records.
Okay.
That
And the
that-
rural
that access-
subdivision definition says they can't further, they can't be divided anymore. But we'll make sure, I'll make sure they're here
I didn't know it was
on the
Very
hearing
good,
date.
very good.
All right,
All right, so the last item is a conditional use permit for Ivana Williams on Highway 49. Ms. Williams is seeking the conditional use permit to operate a gun store and a gun range. She wants to make sure she can be approved for this use before she purchases the property and obtains detailed drawings. It's a 9.1 acre parcel. It sits directly across from Clyburn Tank Lines at Star on 49. That's an aerial view of the property. The front portion of the property is zone C3, where it runs along the highway, and the remainder of the portion of the property in the back is zoned A2. We just got an approximate distance from the location of what where we thought the shooting range might be to the nearest homes, and it'd be about 450 yards away. Let's see. So she's proposing construction of a 1,500 square foot metal building for the gun shop and an office area. These are her conceptual renderings for the property. So you can see, this will be the gun store with the office, a pavilion, and then the berm. These are just closer views. And then this is what the gun store would look like. Ms. Williams is here today if y'all have any questions for her, and she's proposing hours of operation as Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I mean, the zoning and all that's fine with what she's doing with the commercial on the front and,
Well, she'll,
yeah.
with a conditional use, yes. It's allowed for her to ask for a conditional use.
Okay.
Y'all have
Have
any
any
questions
questions?
for her while she's here today?
Can I shoot
What-
out there?
Ms. Renee, is the intention to make sure that, as one of the conditions would be that we follow the accepted standards for firing ranges under, like the National Rifle Association has a standard that they follow, and there's other guidance like that. Would our intention be that whatever is developed here would be in compliance with those kinds of standards?
Yes,
Okay.
Definitely.
Anybody have any other questions about that? Anybody got any issues with the hours of operation?
You got anything?
Would you want to
Okay.
speak on it?
No, sir. If you guys have any questions, I came in today. I've been at Rolling Fork, overnight, so I've only
Right.
had 2 hours of sleep. But I definitely want to be here today just in case you did have any questions. But no, she stated everything that we discussed, and hopefully we get this permitted and I can get the land and we can get this going.
So,
All right.
do you think you're gonna have any opposition?
I don't believe so, just based on, there's only about 6 or 7.
Hey, if you don't mind, please just come up to the podium. Sorry to make you do this. Just state your name and address for the record.
Ivana Williams, and the address for the location,
For
or where I'm at
No,
now.
where you at? Your
So
house.
I live in Crossgates, 123 Woodgate Drive.
Perfect.
And, so what was the other question?
Do you think you're gonna have opposition?
I don't. So based on the houses that are in the area, it's only a few houses, it's rental property. And it's a far enough distance where with the dense wood line, I don't believe that they'll have any issues with it.
See, the houses are right there.
And it looks like it's a lot more houses than it actually is. There's not many houses up there.
When, at some point later, if a board is interested in talking about further regulation over firing ranges or sports shooting facilities, that type thing, more than likely, the board's position would be follow similar patterns that we have in other regulations like that. And I don't know if you remember, but most of our stuff says that activity has to be 1,000 feet away from an occupied dwelling. That's just one example. This already would comply because the closest house is gonna be 1,400 feet.
No, it's
That's
400
yards, 450 yards.
Yeah, 1,400 feet,
Oh, yeah, okay, I got you.
right?
All right.
So.
I thought you said
uh,
1,000.
It's a quarter mile from the closest house. So what I'm saying is, even if the board later decides to do some sort of additional regulation here, which we don't currently do, this would already comply with that one restriction, that it be at least 1,000 feet away from the closest occupied dwelling.
I got you.
So
So
do you
that
intend to
should-
set it up for long guns or just pistols?
Just pistols.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind looking at long range, but that's something later on down the road.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, the regulations on what I'll call the long bores, the rifles, are pretty restrictive. You've gotta have a clear zone that's like a half mile. So,
All right.
one good thing about it is that if this comes into being, the board votes to approve this conditional use and it gets constructed, it will be protected under state law, so that if any people move in and put houses up, they can't use any regulation and say that facility's gotta go away. No, they're protected under state law. It's kinda like super grandfather status under state law. So at some point, we probably do need to address these so that they don't get located somewhere where we have existing subdivision, residential.
I don't know, I'm gonna miss that day, cause the last time we voted on something dealing with guns,
Yeah,
we made the news the wrong
Hey,
way.
we got our hands slapped for you.
So,
Yeah, we tried. Yeah, so we understand that we can only regulate inside
Or
a
dogs.
subdivision, but that's individuals who are using their own firearms. This is a different deal. This is a commercial facility that has a separate set of regulations on it. So anyhow, all I'm doing is I'm letting you guys know that this particular location looks like it's the right kind of location for even the kinds of regulations that I've been seeing and looking at that other places do.
I got you.
good luck.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
How about,
Okay.
when you get it established, please contact our extension office, Heather. We have a 4-H, our shooting
Right,
sports.
and that's what I plan to try to.
That's the fastest growing area of 4-H.
She's
And
aware of
Right.
that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm hoping to actually
she's
just
already been thinking about that.
let them utilize the space for free. I mean, because the reason being is you get, 100, 200 parents come through. Yeah, I gave away the space for free for that event, but I have so many people coming
Yeah,
to my place.
okay.
So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have thought about that.
Yeah,
Alright.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going over on the ski shooting thing there too.
next. We just need to get y'all to set those hearings, please.
All right, I'll make a motion to set the,
Second.
well, we got one, the first one is the public hearing for April the 3rd, the Michael Brooks. I'll make a motion to set that hearing for April the 3rd.
Second.
Second, Mr. Gaines, any discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion carried. And the other 2, 3, and 4 will be public hearings for April the 14th. I'll make a motion to set those for April the 14th.
Second.
With, Craig, did you get satisfied on that, those
Yes, sir.
lots?
Yes, sir. We'll clarify with the applicant that utility easement stays with Block 5. It can't be subdivided.
Okay.
All right, who seconded that motion?
Daniel?
Yeah, me or Gaines, too?
Mr. Cross, second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion carried. All right, nuisance properties.
That's me. Thank you, Mr. President. The first item under nuisance considerations is the Bruce E. and Vanessa C. Hollingsworth nuisance property. This is at 1550 Monterey Road. This is a District 1 property. I'll open that public hearing. I will ask that Mr. or Ms. Hollingsworth or anyone on their behalf be prepared to come forward. Ms. Renee will demonstrate with the photos.
All right, so we received a complaint January 24th of this year about an unsafe structure, shed, inoperable appliances, rubbish and debris, and broken window. These pictures were taken January the 25th. This is the second time we've had this property. Kathy did receive a call from the owner. He said he was unable to be here because of an emergency surgery for a family member. These are the new pictures that were taken yesterday.
That house, the house with the post on it, looks like it was leaning to the right, or it might have been the camera angle.
Yeah, maybe in tree. In this,
That's a recent picture.
This is the yesterday.
but, is this, do you have this up here before?
We have had it before.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
That's those pictures.
So what do we plan on doing with it?
Yeah, what did we send it to Justice Court the
Yeah, what
last
happened
go
last
around,
time?
or?
What happened last time?
You didn't take any action last time. The man was here last time, and I think he said he would start working on it. He's also told Kathy that he will start working on it. I think she said this weekend, but
This has been like a year and a half.
it has been
Okay.
a while. He's had ample opportunity to take care of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion to send it to Justice Court.
Second.
Second, Mr. Gaines.
You
Any
got
further
time to be
questions?
working on it. Got time to be working.
Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
That hearing is closed. Mr. President, item 2 is the Pedro Alvarez Gonzalez nuisance property at 129 Topaz Street. This is District 1 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask Mr. Gonzalez or anyone on his behalf to be prepared to come forward. Ms. Renee will demonstrate the photos.
All right, so we received a complaint February 7th about a concession trailer business being run at this location. The certified mail was delivered and received. Kathy did have a call from someone who said that it would be moved, the concession trailer would be moved to the city of Richland within the next week. However, that did not happen. So these pictures were taken on the 7th. And then these are the new pictures that were taken yesterday.
Can you blow it back up?
That's a sewer run out there.
Can you blow that one up? Anybody blow it up?
I can't blow it
You
up.
can't tap it? You can't tap it, blow it up?
Is that
We
great
don't-
water?
Renee, tap that thing.
Looks like, well, I say, it looks like it's
But it's
open
not
now.
doing any good.
It looks like it's open right there.
Like a tarp over the front,
Like a canopy.
canopy hanging out front.
Are they here? Are y'all,
Yes.
tell me about it.
Yeah,
Tell us
just,
about it.
when you get up here, just state your name and your address.
Hey, go back. Yeah.
Sorry for my English. Okay, my name is Pedro Alvarez and my address 119 Topaz Street. And I buy the trailer like 3 months ago. and I try to get the permits and everything. But the reason that I buy that one is because I got like 30 people that we work together, and I have to pay, you know, the lunch for everybody. So it's more easy for me or more cheap just make it. So, and I try to get the permit to make it right, you know, but I never open it really, and you cannot see a sign to say open or something like that. And
So you have a business that you have 30 employees,
Mhm.
and you using this to cook for your
Mhm.
employees?
yeah, because I have to pay lunch for everybody, and
Well,
I
do you,
spend-
do you charge them?
not really, because it's more like, you know,
Okay,
but it's more cheap for me to, you know, to pay like for lunch for everybody.
I got you.
So Renee, this is zoned either residential or?
RMX, it is residential, but
Okay.
it's RMX.
So we don't allow a commercial operation in a residential setting like this.
Okay.
It's not zoned properly for that.
Okay,
So we have to relocate that trailer to a proper zoning classification. And, I agree that if you're trying to get a permit through the city of Richland,
Mhm.
if that's close enough to you, that's your best option. But that trailer needs to go somewhere until it gets, placed properly with a permit inside the city of Richland.
okay, one
Well,
question.
you can park it there, you just can't operate there.
Oh, yeah,
You
that's
can't
what-
cook or sell or
We,
serve
You
anything
just
out
have to
of
shut
it.
it down.
After they get the paper, it's like a month ago, I think we not even do nothing about it. I mean, we just close it. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
I can-
because, you know, whoever sent this in are watching you. So if you're saying you close it, you need to keep it there, because they're gonna be watching and say, hey, he's not closing it. He's still.
no, it's closed like a month.
I mean, I'm just telling you, they're gonna be
Yeah.
there.
They gonna let us know or
Yeah.
call the building department, say, hey, they back up running, serving food, and, I mean, we just can't have that.
The
So-
neighbors are watching.
So
Somebody-
what I can do is move it all the way in the back. I
You
mean,
don't
No,
have to do anything with
it
it,
can
just don't
stay
let-
there,
you
you
can't
just
open
can't
it.
operate it.
no, it's not operated. It's
Okay.
closed, so.
Well, you can park it there.
It probably would cause less friction if it wasn't near the road, especially if you had a fence
Okay,
around, you know?
all right.
A little
Kinda like a
fence.
privacy fence
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
But,
So what I gonna do is just move it all the way in the back, because still people just stop, and some American people, they
okay.
want to know, hey.
Are you open?
Yeah,
Yeah. They order a hamburger and then get
Now,
a phone call
so-
up here.
and sometimes they pass over there and, hey, Mr. Taco, I say, no, we close, I don't want any closing.
Gentlemen, if I could suggest, maybe like a 30-day window here for it to either be relocated in the back or placed somewhere inside the city of Richland. So
What I can do
30
is,
days.
what I can do today is just move it all the way in the back and on with that.
I think that would be a good solution.
Well, when you
just
go,
Don't
I'm-
be operating it,
Yeah.
because they're gonna know it. Okay.
I mean, do you haul it to the job site or whatever?
No, what we're
Okay.
doing is cooking over there and take the food to the
I got you,
people, you know, like,
alright. Alright,
Yeah, I think if you'll do that, you'll be okay. So,
Alright,
get it
so-
worked out in Richland.
I'll make a motion to, 30-day to get it in order.
Observation.
Observation.
No action other than.
No, and you
an
just keep it
observation.
shut down.
Yeah.
all right, so we good?
Okay, thank
You
you.
good?
Gentlemen, that public hearing is closed, and it reflects that the board has initiated a 30-day review by the Community Development Office to make sure there's compliance with what we discussed. Mr. President, item 3 is the Julie Dawn Jordan nuisance property. This is at 116 Rosalie Avenue. It's a District 1 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask Ms. Jordan to come forward, and Renee will demonstrate the photos.
All right, so we received a complaint February 7th about rubbish and debris and inoperable appliances. The certified mail was delivered. Kathy has a note that this property adjoins 118 Rosalie Avenue, and that stuff is spread across both yards and across the street on a vacant lot. These pictures were taken February 7th.
Is there,
These are the new pictures that were taken
Those are new pictures?
yesterday. Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you right here?
Please come forward.
I think he's gonna be on the next one, Brad. That's probably
Oh.
Richard Jordan. See, we got
That's not him?
back.
Is this Richard?
Are you Mr. Jordan? Okay. We're actually talking, is it your daughter, this Julie Dawn Jordan?
My ex-wife.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Which one are we on?
We're on
Three.
116 Rosalie
Okay.
Avenue.
I own 118, she owns 116, but I stayed there, it's all my fault. She's staying in Richmond with her mother taking care of her. I let the place go like it did. I went too far, I worked all day yesterday trying to clean it up, I've got to cross the road, I got all that cleaned up. I'd be there working today if it wouldn't be in here.
Okay.
I need
So-
a little bit more time, I promise you, I'm getting rid of everything.
Okay, because actually what we're dealing with is 3 and 4 then.
Yes, sir. And if we can, gentlemen, I'd like the record to reflect that we have opened item 4, which is the nuisance consideration on 118, since
Right.
116 and 118 really go together.
Okay.
So we're gonna consider these together as one. We'll let the minutes reflect that we have both of those matters open. So we'll take care of 116 and 118 at the same time.
And if you would, just state your name and your address for the record.
I'm Richard Jordan, 118 Rosalie.
All right, thank you, Richard.
So these
I
are
think-
pictures of 118.
Huh?
These are
Let-
the pictures of 118.
Let's look at 118.
These were taken February 7th.
All that, I got it up yesterday, all that.
Okay, we got
I'm
pictures.
working behind the fence,
And these are the new
Yeah.
pictures that
Okay.
were
Okay,
taken
you are?
yesterday.
Yep.
all that's gone.
Yep, you doing them?
I
Yep.
moved the lawnmower yesterday.
Yeah, you made a
That truck,
big push on it.
that
Thank you.
truck's leaving too.
I tell you what, I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do. We're gonna declare it a nuisance, but what that means, the reason we do that, we don't have to go back through all this again, if you don't clean it up. But then we'll just kinda slow down on sending it on up to justice court. We're just gonna have that on record, you see. And then as long as you're getting it cleaned up, then it won't ever go there.
I promise you.
I understand, I'm just saying, and I believe you, because you've done a heck of a job already.
Can you
And
get it done in 30 days?
I'll try.
Let's just go ahead and do that, and we'll just monitor
We'll
it.
just monitor it.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and declare it a nuisance, but we're gonna monitor it, and that way, we may never even go there. The only reason for that, we don't have to start the process all over again.
Yeah.
So, really,
There'll be somebody from the building department that'll come
Yeah,
out and
they'll check
inspect
it.
it
If y'all-
weekly or within 30 days. And if you've made a,
as long as you're making progress on it, we're gonna work with you, okay?
And just so y'all know, I've been at my mother since May the 8th, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know my property looked like this.
Well, he's getting it cleaned up, and you're gonna get it cleaned up, and I believe you, because you made a big effort, and
I
we
promise
don't,
you, I'm going straight home
Okay.
to it.
okay?
All right.
You got some
Thank
good
y'all.
weather to do it in, so get after it before it gets
Thank you.
hot.
I appreciate you
Okay.
coming in.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
Gentlemen, we'll close item 3 and 4 and close that public hearing. Jared, let's go ahead and do the motion to declare 3 and 4 as
All right,
a
I'll make a
nuisance.
motion to declare it nuisance and then monitor it.
For
Looks like
3 and
he's making
4.
a real
Yep.
effort, and I think
Right.
she's gonna keep the fire on.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 5 is the Emery S. Morton nuisance property, 138 Holly Hedges Drive. This is District 1 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask Mr. or Ms. Morton to step forward at this time, be prepared to address the board. Renee will demonstrate with photos.
All right, so complaint was received February 7th, rubbish and debris, inoperable vehicles. Some of the mail was delivered. These pictures were taken on the 7th of February. And these are the new pictures that were taken yesterday.
All right, what's your,
All right, if you would, just state your name and your address for the record, please.
Emery Morton, 138 Holly Hedges Drive.
All right, thank you, Mr. Morton.
But what's your plan? Because that's gonna all have to be cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, I got my trailer loaded up with one load now, of the stuff on the side of the fence there. I probably got about 2 more loads there. And we took down a pool, that's that gray stuff laying in the back there. I gotta haul that off to the dump. And, the truck's ruined. Those are my work trucks, so I don't know what they want me to do about that, they run.
Those
So-
are fine. It's that camper and that car and that
I mean,
van back
everybody over
there.
there's got campers. I don't see why everybody has a problem with my camper. Everybody in that neighborhood have campers.
Well,
Look, we
it
don't-
looks like it's about to fall in.
Well, it got so wet over here. It is, I mean, I can move it over. I mean, that ain't no problem.
I don't think that's the issue. I mean, it
The
doesn't.
tires are aired up, it's just.
Is it got a
was
tag, a
sunk.
legal tag on it?
Yeah, it should, yes.
Do you use it?
For work, like when I go out of town, I'll stay in that instead of staying in a motel. It's a lot cheaper.
So you actually use it though?
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
Okay. It just doesn't look like it's been in a while. Yeah.
It had, I mean, ever since COVID, I ain't had no out of town work really, so.
Can you put it behind that fence?
My, what do you call it, the sprinkler system?
Yeah.
Sewer system?
Yeah, I had installed,
Keeps it wet.
Keeps it wet.
yeah, right there, right where the fence is, I got one sprinkler there and then one sprinkler up here. That's the reason our grass grows so fast there.
Ah,
If you had it cleaned up, if you could clean up and move it
Make
back
you a pad.
toward the fence.
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
can actually, I can move it in front of the shop, the shed
But
there.
if you had that cleaned up where you could move it, that would help.
Yeah.
But you're talking about other people, and look, we tell this to everybody that comes in here. We don't go out looking for that. Obviously, the homeowner association or somebody has reported and needs help cleaning it up. And you gotta admit, it needs some cleaning up.
I mean, if you cut the grass, I mean, it might be cut, I don't know, that was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah.
But,
No, I mean, it's rained. When it rains, because of the sewer system, it takes about a week and a half, according to how hard it rains, for it to dry enough to cut the grass.
yeah, it's kinda flat out there, I know that, I know.
It,
might need
it takes
to
a
get a weed
minute
eater
for
out
it to
there.
dry out.
You know?
Well, what we're gonna do,
Some Roundup.
Yeah, or that.
we're gonna have to,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to,
Yes, sir. One thing that would be helpful is to clear up any question about the trailer being currently tagged. We want to check that and make sure. If it's not, it needs to be. Any vehicles that are inoperable they gotta go. They can't stay there. So make sure that everything that's there
Well,
is
the one
operable.
that I had that was inoperable, I fixed it. It actually sit in front of the camera.
All right.
yeah.
My son, he come and got it when I got it.
Just make sure whatever vehicles there have tags on them and that they're operable, okay?
And all that stuff back in the back, I can't tell it since you can't blow it up at night. I'm not sure, but, I mean, you just got to clean it up, I mean.
Make it
clean up.
neater.
Make it
Yeah.
clean up, make it look neat.
Yeah, I mean, like all the stuff in front of the fence, I mean, that's getting in a hurry and just unloading my trailer,
Yeah,
so
I
I ain't
know.
gotta go to, you know.
Just like the
and
guy before you.
It's been a minute.
And,
Yeah.
also snakes. The problem is you got snakes and rodents and everything built around there, and you got, I know where you are, you got people living right next door to you. And so,
So I would say, Jared, let's go on and just do the nuisance declaration, but make it clear that we're gonna monitor for 30 days and monitor progress. And as long as Mr. Morton is making progress, we don't have to do anything further with it.
And
Just keep
I
it
would get
monitored.
a tag for that camper. Okay. Up
Make
to
sure
date.
that's,
we
yeah.
we're gonna do you the same way we did the other one you heard. We declare the nuisance, that we'll have to start all this over again, and we'll monitor it. And, hopefully you're gonna get it done, it won't have to go to court.
All right, so that's your motion?
Okay, yeah.
Your motion?
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed, like
That's
sign.
working with you, 'cause a lot of times we don't do that, we just send it on to court, so we're gonna wait, we're gonna, yeah, okay,
I mean, I'll get it.
yeah, I got you, okay.
Make sure you have contact information right here. Gentlemen, the next item under our nuisance considerations actually is a review hearing. This is not a nuisance, this is a review hearing. This reflects or relates to a matter that the board addressed as a conditional use application under our new medical cannabis regulations. This is Rehoboth Farm Growers, and I just wanted to kind of set the tone for you what this is about. After the board acted on the conditional use application and approved the conditional use on the basis of what Mr. Aldrich had reported to the board in that hearing, we were contacted, I think we were contacted, we may have contacted them to ask, but we checked with the State Department of Health because we had heard that there was potentially some issues that the State Department of Health is looking at as it relates to Mr. Aldridge's facility. And so they, from what we have been told, not in writing, they refuse to tell us in writing, has something to do with the way that they interact with these permits, this permit structure that the state regulates. So they won't give us anything in writing. But what we've been able to find out is that Mr. Aldridge's facility was placed on some type of suspension. He has not received a permit from the State Department of Health to operate, okay? And so the reason for this review hearing, and we asked Mr. Aldrich to be present. I think he reported back to Renee that he had a conflict with today's date and could not attend, but I did not want to delay further. I wanted us to go forward with this review and make sure the board was aware of the situation, so that if the board decides that you want to do anything, you have an opportunity to do so. And Mr. Aldrich was given an opportunity to be present or have a representative here, and he's elected not to do so. So this is what we've been told, that the facility does not meet certain minimum requirements that the state has in place as it relates to how a facility is either designed, stood up, or run, operated, whatever, cleanliness, other things like that. The kinds of regulations the state has chosen to regulate. It's not our deal, it's the state's deal. And so the issue before you is, do we continue to have a standing permit in place as long as the state has placed in essence, a timeout, a stop on him, or do we reconsider the permit and let him come back after he has gotten in full compliance with the state and come back through the conditional use process?
I mean, does he have product that he's growing inside now without a permit from the?
So he has a provisional permit, and he does have product growing, yes.
So the state will allow him to grow
It might
product
be.
without a license?
Well, it's a provisional license, and she said yes. I asked her that question,
So,
if they
so
were
he
allowed
does
to
have a
start.
license, Brad? It's not a full license, it's provisional. So the growing part of it, he's allowed to do at his own discretion voluntarily. But when it comes time to do something with that product, he has many hurdles to clear with the State Department of Health before he is permitted to do something with that product. He's running the risk that he gets to a point and the state says, destroy everything.
That's odd that they would allow a
So,
permit.
so I
like
guess,
that.
Well,
You think that,
You would
I don't know if today is the day proper or is during.
Oh, no, this is your review, Steve. Everything that you want to have on the table about this situation needs to be on the table for the rest of the board to hear. Because I think it's important, as we get to a point, at some point, you guys may decide today, we're going to go ahead and act. So let's get all the information that would be necessary for action on the table.
I know some.
I was misled when we were talking about odor. This place is near the property line, very near the property line, and other houses. And the odor, I don't feel comfortable with allowing the weather or the atmosphere to filter, that be the only filter. And there's other things that we've seen with the state. I would like to rescind that permit and work with the state. And this was the first one, and we were really depending on, I don't know what, our lack of knowledge, I guess. And I don't want to get off on the wrong foot.
Yes, sir.
So I would like to make a motion to rescind that permit. We can work with him, we can work with the state, and when it's satisfactory, we'll readdress it.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay. So what we want to reflect here, first and foremost, is a motion to add to this particular agenda an action item on this review hearing. So Steve's motion is to add
Yeah.
the potential for action to this, to our agenda today.
Yeah, that'll
Okay,
be-
so that's, and so Daniel, you're seconding
Motion
that.
made by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? I would like if these people are coming in asking to be able to grow, we need more pictures
Yes.
of
Survey.
what they're gonna be growing in and where it's gonna be and,
Yes.
and,
The
distance-
facility
the
itself.
facility itself. I mean,
Right.
we were told it was gonna be a enclosed shop or something, and we didn't really even have.
Correct.
So here's one of the things that kind of bothered me on what Slade mentions. Now we have a person growing product without the ability to sell it or maneuver it. So he's either got one or two choices: find somebody to buy it or destroy it,
Or he's going to have to get in compliance with the
or
state.
one of the three. I guess there's three choices to that. So,
But he's gotta get in compliance with the
I don't
county
think
too.
being
Yeah,
compliant with the
compliant.
state
but he's not
would
in
be the
compliance.
first thing
But he's
before
not
we do
in
anything.
compliance of what we asked
Yeah.
to start with. So
Right.
anyway, that
Why would they,
So-
I don't understand how they could issue that permit if you don't have a way to move it out.
Yeah.
To me, like, that would be the first thing, that had to be completely compliant for we.
I know before they can move it for sale, it's got to go through one of our testing labs
Testing.
that's approved by the state. And if it doesn't pass that test, it's gonna be destroyed anyway.
hey, Mr. Slade, let me ask you this: what happens? Well, I guess I'll wait till the next motion that comes in. I'll
Renee's
wait on
actually
the
got pictures, so
I'll
this,
wait,
this could be
yeah.
helpful for you guys, because I don't think we got a full view of all of this
These are the new
at our
pictures.
conditional use application, right? All right, gentlemen, this is actually the facility here, okay, so let's take a look.
We took these yesterday, or the day before. Day before yesterday.
We didn't have these pictures at our conditional use application. These were taken day before yesterday.
One of the things she pointed out, at the state office is that, that's not a door. That's unacceptable. He has to have that changed out.
And doesn't have to have some kind of fencing all the way around the facility?
He does not, but what she said is that that could be a way that he meets their regulations. That would be an option that he could put, but he doesn't have to enclose the whole property. He could just do the building, put a
Mhm.
fence around the building. So people can't see in, so there's no way for somebody to see in. So you can see where the building's not closed up at the top. We were sitting back and we could see inside, we could see the fans running inside just from where we were sitting in the truck.
Oh, really? So it's not.
See,
So if somebody, yeah,
closed?
It's not, when I was measuring,
it's like right there, that's not enclosed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crack, a big crack.
Wow. Okay.
And I think up here too.
next
is
one,
it?
yeah.
Right there.
So the kinds of things that none of us, I quite honestly, at the county level,
See under the bottom.
ought to really be involved in
Yeah.
is how do you regulate a facility that is producing a medical grade pharmaceutical? That's what the program is designed to be.
Right.
So that has to be done, I think, that has to be done at the state level.
Yeah.
But they need to regulate whether a given facility can produce a pharmacy grade material. And if you got open access to the environment.
And I guess my question to that is,
Lulu
is
Mike.
there a medical grade marijuana?
Yeah,
Is there
yeah,
such
yeah,
thing
yeah.
as a grade
Yeah.
of that?
Well-
Because most of the doctors who I talked to said there are no medical grade marijuana. I mean, it's the same I mean, there's no such thing as medical marijuana. We fall under this illusion
Right.
that there's a medical marijuana.
Yeah.
Marijuana is marijuana. Now, it's used for medical purposes
Yeah.
or used for
Right.
whatever purposes.
Right.
But there's no such thing as a medical grade marijuana
I got you.
that I believe.
Well,
Is it?
I mean, some of this, if
I guess
it's,
you could
if
discuss
it's
the
growed
potency.
in a clean environment, because I don't see how insects are not gonna get in there and
Oh, yeah.
contaminate
Yeah.
mold,
Yeah.
mildew.
All right.
I mean,
Wacko-
But
I
let-
made my
let-
motion.
Wacko mice
Again,
running around.
let me help us. It's the state's germane,
Yeah.
that it's their jurisdiction to say that particular situation and that particular product is
qualifies,
contaminated.
yeah.
I agree.
It doesn't measure up. That's the state's deal. Our deal is, if we know on the front end that a facility is gonna be open to the elements, maybe we should step in and say, you know, go get cleared up with the state, but we're not gonna let you grow in a facility that looks like this.
If this is what the board wants to do we not need to be in the Board of Supervisors meeting?
Well, this is part of the review hearing, and just like we're basically, this is moving us into almost a nuisance situation here, okay? And we're elevating this immediately to a consideration of public health and safety. Steve, you said that you thought that there were controls over the odor, and you thought that there was enough distance from this facility to the next occupied dwelling to satisfy any concerns that we might have about
And
proximity.
even the property lines, this is near the property line.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is restricting the people that own the properties around this. They can't build a home, you know, on their land because the smell is only a few yards away from their property line. I don't like the placement of it. I don't like the unsecurity.
I know,
The
Steve,
community is not behind it.
Birds can go in there.
Steve, I know on like the facility that we went and looked at in Gluckstadt, they had a filtration system
Yes,
to
sir.
where anything that
I-
exit that
the way that it
facility,
was
it is
presented to
filtered
us,
and it's no
I
odor.
assumed that we were looking and dealing, with it being our
I
first
did
year,
too,
that we were dealing with something of that
I agree.
magnitude.
yeah.
That's the
You can
distance to
control
the
the
house,
odor, but you got to
486
have the proper equipment there to control it.
Well,
Well, and it has to be
still
sealed
got-
up. It has
And
to
I
be
mean,
sealed
yeah.
up.
I made a statement that this scares me. With no security, I know kids out in the country, just like kids in the city, they get out and roam and come across my place. They come, they're being kids. You don't think they're gonna wonder, and, well, not just wonder, when they know, they gotta look at it. And then what? There's no security. I mean, maybe you got cameras, but if you identify somebody that's dead, what good did that do?
One thing I remember, we would have to look back at the tape to get this exact words that were used, but my recollection is that we were told that the closest house, the nearest neighbor, was probably 1,000 to 1,500 feet away. And what the aerial reflects is that the closest house is 486 feet away.
It was measured with the wheel too.
So, we feel pretty good that the reality is that it's, the next occupied dwelling, the closest proximal occupied dwelling is significantly less than the board was told in the conditional use.
Well, and his argument's gonna be, and I'm just, cause I know he said this when he was here, that the Department of Agriculture says you can grow hemp. Well, hemp doesn't have any THC in it, and it can be grown on the outside because the state's not regulating that, it's the Department of Ag.
Yeah.
So,
And
and
the
I mean,
smell
you gonna
is-
still gonna have that same smell, so being this is agricultural, he could go out and grow hemp in his pasture if he wanted to, legally.
You know that.
Yeah.
All right, I made the motion, had a
Yes, sir.
second to add.
That was to add it, yes, sir.
All right, any further discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
If you want to wait until the board meeting, or if you wanna do it now, whatever
Yeah.
is.
I'm fine with, just being, really careful about making sure we're taking this under the board's authority. When you considered the conditional use application, you were doing that as a Board of Supervisors. So,
Okay.
Mr. Bishop may have actually, been a more prepared lawyer today than the board lawyer. So I would say maybe your motion, Steve, will be to add this item to your April 3 agenda and to request that Ms. Renee use every effort to let Mr. Aldrich know
Yes.
that the matter will be on the agenda on Monday for action
All right, Slade, let me ask this question here. If we take action on Monday to revoke it or stop the conditional use that was awarded, what happens to him then? Does he have to stop growing what he's doing? Is he allowed to continue on doing what he's doing? Is he still operating on the state's area?
Yes,
When
sir.
the county says stop, what does that mean?
Yeah, I think effectively what it means is the state's
I tell
gonna tell him you
may
have
wanna
to
just think
stop.
about it. I mean, just see,
Yeah.
in Monday, just tell us what stop means. I mean, where does our authority fall? At that, I mean, I don't know what stop means. When we pull it Monday, if the vote's there, what happens at that point?
I can
I
tell
don't
you
know,
that,
so.
that one thing that will happen is that the state will wanna know why, okay? And I suspect that it'll, materially impact his ability to secure his final full
So I
permit
guess what I'm
from the
saying, if the
state.
state approves him and the county denies him, he should not be able to grow
He won't be
marijuana
able to.
inside the facility,
That's
right?
correct.
So,
And I mean, I'm good with, hey, from here on out, they got to be approved and have the correct license before we go any further.
Me too.
So, and let me add this too, and I'm not really fussing.
I don't think any of them have
I'm
anything
expressing
but
frustration.
provisional.
We asked to the point of begging for a representative from the State Department of Health to be here today to help us walk through what the state is looking at so that we have a better idea of the things that we ought to be looking at. And we were told no. I would like to, again, ask for anyone's help here to try to get us somebody from the State Department of Health who knows what they're talking about in this area right here that can give some level of guidance about what the state is looking at on facilities, materials, construction, layout. We need help.
I wonder if we could get,
Identify.
Representative Lee Yancey. I mean, 'cause that bill, he should know that bill pretty good, and if,
Lee would be a good one. He may not be able to tell us about the details of the regulations, but he
Or
can at
maybe-
least
maybe-
tell us
or
what he
maybe-
is.
Maybe Lee could have the state show up. The
Yeah,
enforcement
bring whoever
stuff.
Yeah, that may.
He can maybe make the call over to the Department of
Right.
whatever
Yeah.
and say, please show up with me to help show me how
Right.
you're gonna enforce it. Though he wrote it, it's still out of his hands on the enforcement side
Yeah.
or action side, so.
Hopefully his time is freed up a little bit
Yeah,
here pretty
hopefully
soon.
this
and,
week they'll be out.
Maybe Lee could help us.
all right. So we're gonna make a motion to move this to the 3rd.
Yes, we can either do it on the 3rd, Steve, we can do it on the 15th,
Might
which
wanna
would
push it a little
possibly
later.
give us more
Let's just not
time
get out of session.
to
What do you think?
The more you wait
folks
on it,
here.
I'd rather go ahead with it. I don't want this to draw out because his plants are getting bigger.
Yeah,
Okay.
So you talking
Keep it on
about
3rd.
today or?
No.
Third.
Monday?
keep it on Monday.
Monday.
Monday?
Yeah.
I'll make a
Make sure it's on
motion to add this for the 3rd.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The motion from Mr. Gaines is to have this matter placed on the agenda on April 3rd
Okay.
for action and ask Ms. Renee to use her best efforts to make sure Mr. Aldridge
So,
knows.
That's
what's
Mr.
gonna
Gaines's motion.
I think we already voted it,
Okay,
I think.
all right.
I think, didn't you?
Well, we didn't specifically say third, but I'll make that motion.
All right, and second by Mr. Cross. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. All right. Our next meeting will be April the 27th, 9 a.m. All right.
Motion to
Yeah.
adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Mr.
moved.
Gaines,
Yeah,
second,
second.
Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? Not, all in favor say aye. All right, well, let's move on to our March 30 agenda, Board of Supervisors meeting. And first up is public comment, Mr. Cross and Chris Bass.
Yeah, and I don't know that Chris really got any public comment, but Chris, hey, if you could come up, I'm gonna say a few things, and I promise, Mr. President, I'm gonna stay inside my 3 to 5 minute window. I won't
Thank
go
you,
outside
sir.
of that. And
It's been a long morning.
I know it has. I know it's getting crazy. But I wanted to address something that happened the meeting prior to this. I had to step out. I was dual booked or whatever. So we had some things come up during additional business that I wasn't aware of. And it came back up, and I know we had some discussion in it, and I guess it's going to say there's a lot of confusion on it. But I kind of take you to a point I want to make today, that it's important that the Board of Supervisors are present, all of us, on making big decisions, in my opinion, right? So I tell you, if you would, just indulge me. I'm going to ask some rhetorical questions, You don't have to say anything, but come up here, I wanna show you something. Come up here, walk up here to the thing. So here's what we got. Back in the early days, we used to have a little thing called a shell game, right? And what they did in the shell game, it was a game of deception. And what they would do is they'd bring people in, and they would put like a ball or rock. I stopped by Bishop's truck, got a golf ball this morning, but I'm gonna put it under this cup, right? So it's all set up right here. It's all set. So as a county supervisor, if I'm here, it's hard to lose the deception inside, right? So I can see it. So if I got you in my shoes, standing here, and I was gonna have the game of the shell game, and I started moving these things around, right? You automatically see where the rock is, right? It's where? Right here, because we could watch it. So we're all right here in front of us. So even though all the moving pieces come around, we still all see it. All right, so from a board's perspective, even though things get crazy, we still know where the rock is, right? But here's where it gets sideways. Let's say one of us leave. So now let's do it like this. Turn and face back over there. Face the back side. So now, at this point, I move things around. Now turn around. Now, which one? Now, let's pretend like this. Let's just say your boss is the constituents. I'm not saying you did this, right? I'm not saying this by no means. I'm using this hypothetically. So your boss says, I want you to watch the shell game. Tell me where the ball is, where the rock is. So you say, well, I think it's this cup. No. I think it's this cup. No. Maybe this cup. No. So I tell you all that to say, the part that bothers me is when we do things that are important. And I'm not blaming engineering services or you or anything like that. But when things come up that are important, obviously everybody has their own agendas and things to move around. I just like everything up front, where we're all watching the shells move, to where it's important to all of us to see the things that come up. A lot of times historically that we've done in my last 7.5 years, if a big topic comes up, we say, we better wait till we sure everybody's here to talk about things. All we did was award some bids, so we really didn't spend any money, right? So it's all gonna come back to us. All I'm saying is, I would like for the next 6 months, 7 months, to be able to have everybody present if we're gonna make big decisions that affect the money for next year's budget. One of the good things about the election coming up is Daniel won't be a county supervisor, Jared Morrison won't be a county supervisor. These 3 guys will. But we're gonna make decisions today that's gonna affect next year's budget. So if something's out of line that we can't really afford today, that may come back into a bid, I'm placing a terrible burden on Scott Berry or whichever person that gets elected. That's the part that bothers me. I set my timer, Mr. President.
All right.
That's my 5
I
minutes.
appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Mr. Bass.
I have a question.
Go ahead. I got Bishop's golf ball, I ain't giving it back.
Yeah, really, man.
Authorizing to bid it.
Rebid it.
Rebid it. Yep.
All right. Anyone else here would like to speak in public comment? All right, let's move forward. Mr. Slay.
I'm not public comment,
No.
but I will try my best to stay inside of 3 minutes. That's gonna be hard for me. I just need y'all to set a public hearing for April 3rd, 9 a.m. for the Microbooks rezoning request on Stump Ridge Road, District 4.
I make that motion.
All right, second. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Very good. Gentlemen, I regret to inform you that I will need your time in executive session.
All right. Mr. Keith Hicks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Item A is discussion of and potential action to adopt the resolution authorizing changes. We have one additional polling location we're going to change, and it will be coming out of the Word of Life. It's District 216 and moving to Lakeland Presbyterian Church across the street.
That's
make that-
District 2?
Yeah,
Wait,
I'll
you're
make that
moving
motion.
from
Hey,
Word of Life?
I do wanna say, yeah, well, no, not, we're splitting it. There was two
okay.
precincts
All
there.
right, I got
We
it,
have
yeah.
been in discussion with, our election commissioner on that. They're in
Yes.
favor of it. It's not just the board moving it without discussion with the commissioner, so
Yes.
I'll make that motion to approve.
All right, motion made. Mr. Cross, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
All right, and item B, we had a deadline on the 28th that we had to meet, and this is to ratify approval for the Sheriff's Department to apply for a Homeland Security grant. It's 100% funded through the grant, and authority for the board and appropriate Sheriff's Department personnel to execute the documents.
All right,
Motion.
motion made, Mr. Gaines.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, motion carried.
Then any questions on Monday's agenda?
No. All right,
Think so.
additional business to be discussed. Anybody got anything additional they'd like to bring up at this time? I do, but I don't wanna take, but I'm gonna give y'all a heads up on, it's getting close on Highway 18, them MDOT shutting the bridge down. And of course, it's all kinda hitting this summertime. And of course, we got another bridge on Kirsch Road that's gonna be, getting replaced. So I'm getting Tim and Mike looking into making for a temporary no haul routes just for local traffic only on some of these rural county roads, so we can stop some of this traffic. Cause MDOT's supposed to be detouring all these big trucks to 49 and 43 and coming down. So we're gonna need, to me personally, I think we're gonna need to pass some kind of ordinance on these no truck haul routes on some of these rural roads temporarily
Temporary?
until 18 opens back up.
How long they estimated that?
They'll have 240 days.
A year. Year.
And I mean, we've reached out to like some of the loggers, ZA Construction. What I think Mike's gonna do is just give them like a temporary, piece of paper, because that's a local business that lives down there and that's where their shop and
They gotta
everything
go in
is.
and out.
They got to go in and out. But some of these is coming from Memphis or whatever, they just gonna have to go on the haul routes that MDOT's requesting.
Problem is when they Google that thing, they get stuck in a situation. I do the same thing. You don't mean to be there, but it's where it takes you.
Yep.
I mean,
Well, MDOT is supposed to have all of the signage up, letting these folks know, and they supposed to give you a 2-week notice before they even close this bridge on 18. But we're having to move some of the fire protection lines to other fire departments because some of them are gonna be cut off.
Who's doing the job?
I don't know who got awarded the job, but, I mean,
Tim,
we
do
can
you
take
remember
action on
who
this.
did MDOT get?
I do
You
not.
don't remember? It's the group that we're not familiar with.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, somebody you're not familiar with?
It's somebody out of state.
Good.
I know the owner.
Huh.
Owner of the company is Graham Billingsley. They're from North Mississippi.
Okay.
I just have to know his name.
I don't know
I don't
him.
know the name of the company. I think this is their second or third MDOT job.
Huh.
They're just getting them.
They have drove the test piling beside the bridge, so they know what size test pilings, so hopefully they are building new test pilings as we speak. And before they tear out the old bridge, have those on site. That way, when they tear out the old one, they can drive the other ones, but it's a pour-in-place bridge, so.
Did, I don't recall, did they ever offer, or are they gonna reimburse us any for the maintenance of our roads?
Well, what we are planning on doing is just take some pictures and videos of what our current roads are and try to maybe get CMPD's office to come out and do a traffic count now before they close the bridge, and then do one why the bridge is closed and see the traffic count, and if there's any wear and tear, maybe we can get something out of the state on fixing these county roads back up. But I don't wanna take any kind of action today, cause I'm gonna let Mike and Tim get stuff they need, but that's just making y'all aware of what's fixing to happen.
I've got a couple of things under additional business for the next meeting.
Good deal, thank you.
And this is just, if you can start thinking to where we don't start thinking after our meeting on the 3rd about the storm shelters. I've talked with Mike some. Of course, right now it's on everybody's mind. We haven't been able to qualify for grants in the past. If y'all can, try to get some information what that looks like in the future. And just maybe how we might wanna attack that issue. And then, I don't know enough about it to even talk, but broadband, whoever has the most knowledge of how we can pressure or put, I don't know, on people that buy broadband, our rural communities,
Struggle.
where they live, they're not living next to a library. They may not live within 12, 15 miles of a library. And they don't have broadband. And their schools are all, I mean, laptops and things like that. I think it's imperative that we get internet in the rural areas. They're getting left behind. And anyhow, let's see what's out there and what's available, whoever.
Maybe we can get, the power companies to come in, cause some of them, they got money, you know, to go out and establish broadband in rural areas, so maybe they can come to us and give us their plan of
Well,
attack.
it's really the TDAs, pretty much.
Right.
Those are the ones. And
Well, I know Southern Pine got money for doing that. I don't know about the,
Central Electric.
yeah, they probably did also.
Some of those private, utility boards have made decisions to not
Right.
use any of that funding because of the backside cost that they would incur.
Yeah.
They just made a business decision that says it's not worth it for us to be involved. So some of the challenge, Steve, is not just that you've got folks that were provided funding for that purpose, they consciously decided not to be involved.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pressure somebody that has made a decision, a corporate decision, we're not gonna be in that business.
I think if we can bring it, to a boil, maybe the state will help us and make that an initiative that we serve the rural areas.
So,
There's no problem serving where the populated areas are, and those people have access to internet or libraries and things like that, even if they don't have it at their house.
Right. So in late '21, Senator Wicker was heavily involved in the passage of the, it's called IJA. I can't remember what that stands for, but, it was a large appropriations bill, omnibus bill. And he included broadband, his work included broadband in that bill. So my suggestion would be that we engage Senator Wicker's office, his staff, and see if there are details in that legislation that could help us. But y'all gotta say that it's okay to do that.
Let's do that Monday.
Yeah. So
All right.
just be thinking about that.
Okay.
Hey Brad, I want to mention one thing. I was looking, Samantha, I don't see it on the agenda, on the consent or whatever, but it was that deal with Castlewoods on that, the graffiti stuff.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted that.
Well,
You said
I
let's
didn't-
talk about
It's
it.
already handled, Dan.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I just,
Y'all don't have
I know we
anything.
couldn't figure out where to put it, so you got it figured.
I figured it out.
Okay, perfect.
Mr. President, I make the motion, discuss the need to go into executive session.
Second.
All right, second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
What are we going in for?
Litigation.
Motion going into executive session for litigation.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.